Recording in progress.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. Today is Friday, February 23rd. Man, I am glad to have you. It looks like a full house today. This is awesome. So, today is Rotary Founders Day. We are all here because on the 23rd of February, 1905, Paul P. Harris, Gustavus Lohr, Sylvester Scheel, and Hiram E. Shorey gathered in Lohr's office for what would become known as the very first Rotary meeting. To start the program today, we have President-elect Rebecca Montgomery, Principal Montgomery, GR, to give the invocation, followed by Wesley Gentle, if he's here. Is Wesley here? On the piano. If not, we'll do it a cappella. So come on up, Rebecca.
Thank you, President Kirk. What an honor it is to bring today's invocation to you on such a special day in history. Please join me in prayer. Let us be a source of hope for those in need and contentment for those who are lonely. Let the feelings of love, kindness, and a well-directed yet gentle spirit always be reflected in our actions. Let us acknowledge our responsibility and the opportunities we are provided to render our service to fellow citizens and our community. Let us give gratitude for our opportunity to serve Rotary. Whatever Rotary may mean to us, to the world, it will be known by the results it achieves. Paul Harris. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, please join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight? Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you. Give yourself a round of applause for that one. That was fantastic. All right. Derek Moffitt, Principal, Moffitt Strategies, coming up here to welcome our visitors. Apparently.
All right. We have several guests that we would like to welcome to our Rotary Club, and as a long-standing tradition, please make sure you stand and wave and let us clap for you, each and every one of you, as you stand. First of all, we have several guests of Deborah Young, John Gales, Tracy Clyburn, Janae Allen, Jamie Rodriguez, and Linda Lopez. We'd like to welcome you to the club. A couple of guests that came with Rosa Berdeja, Wendy Burgess, and Jerry Cantu. Brenda Matamoros Beveridge brought Dan Shahlan. Tasha Kobridgen came with Wayne Carson. Right. James Boaz is a guest of Mike Herman. Jennifer Jones is a guest of Jared Sloan. And we would also like to welcome visiting Rotarian and his son, Peter Scott and Joseph Scott as well. They're visiting from Arlington. Thank you. There you go.
All right, thank you, Derek. Incidentally, Peter Scott is our past district governor, and his son, I believe, is bringing us an application to join our club. We look forward to seeing that. All right, next up. So for those of you who are guests, not familiar with this, Rotary is guided by several tenets, and some of those can be found in what we call the four-way test. That four-way test, we use it to filter the things that we think, say, or do. If you would, please repeat along with me. Number one, is it the truth? Number two, is it fair to all concerned? Number three, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number four, will it be fair to all concerned? All right, next up, wait a minute. I've got something else here in the middle. I have a disaster aid grant. So before Kathy comes on up here, do we have it on here? Where's that at? Oh, they messed up my thing. So Bruce, come on up here. I want to tell you all about our grant. I don't know who was here before, but come on up. Bruce came up here and did a presentation for us on the disaster relief stuff that our district does. Okay, can you tell us briefly about that, Bruce?
Yes. My wife calls me a disaster, so I feel it was a great fit. No, what we do, we have a big a white enclosed trailer that if a tornado goes through, I don't know, Azle, we are going to have Rotarians and the folks that are going to come with them to help those people that are in the lower income areas get themselves out of that disaster. So we're going to show up, we're going to cut trees down to get that off their house, and get the debris out of their house to the streets for FEMA to come and take. And I've done the same thing you probably have done your whole life. I've just donated money to that cause. Well, now that I'm retired with my friend Richard, we're going to go out and actually do some of the work.
All right. So we've talked with y'all many times about giving to Rotary International. And the funds that we give to Rotary International, a few years later, we get a portion of those funds back. Well, this year, for our district designated or designated district funds, the DDF funds, we have taken that and we are presenting a check for, I want to say, right around $1,800 to this disaster relief fund for these guys to go out, outfit their box, and provide help for those that need us in our community.
Thank you so much.
So this is your funds in action right here in our home district. So give yourself a big round of applause on that one. Thank you. And as always, please keep contributing to those to the Rotary International Fund, because some of those do come back to us. All right, next up, Kathy Neese Brown, Chief Strategy Officer and VP Mission Support, James L. West Center, with our newscast.
Okay, this disaster of a newscast sponsored by the city of Azle. I did not choose Azle. Okay, so this club has been tough on newscasters lately. It's a hard role to fill. Clearly, just be yourself is the worst advice you can give to some people. This week's news makes me wonder if Charles even wanted to be king. You wait 70 years to get a job, and then you call in sick. Okay, we're gonna do like a raffle, and we're just gonna choose one of you to do it next time. Okay, AT&T goes out for a few hours yesterday, leaving it to the Amish to calm the country down. Okay, the U.S. lands on the moon for the first time in 50 years. The Starbucks opens in April. Okay. Last week was Valentine's. It fell on a Wednesday, also known as Hump Day. This week is President's Day. My Valentine didn't appreciate my grandfather's bracelet I gave him. It's inscribed with "Do not resuscitate." We're getting better. Okay, George Washington's birthday was celebrated Monday. At his plantation at Mount Vernon, he raised tobacco, brewed beer, distilled whiskey, and grew hemp. He was famous throughout the colonies as the father of spring break. Okay. Happy Super Bowl season to my fellow Dallas Cowboys fans, or as we call it, Passover. Okay. A 30-second Super Bowl ad cost $7 million. Nobody's paid that much for 30 seconds since the Jets signed Aaron Rodgers. Gets better. Okay. NFL Hall of Fame inductees announced: Robert Shapiro, Johnny Cochran, and Bob Kardashian, named the greatest NFL defense of all time. I only have a few more. Dang. Three-time Super Bowl winning corner Tim McKyer, arrested on 5 counts of hit and run, marking the official start of the NFL offseason. Okay. 5 more. Okay. Whew. Okay. It's all U.S. versus Russia now. One just sees the assets of an oligarch who opposed the regime, and the other is Russia. You know, JR told me that sometimes my newscasts are too smart. Y'all are going to have to catch up. Okay. Okay, Trump launched his own line of sneakers at SneakerCon. They guarantee you can run every 4 years. That was a good one. Okay, yeah. Okay, someone needs to tell the Colorado Supreme Court that judges don't select our presidents. That's the defense industry's job. You know, the 14th Amendment. Any attorneys? Okay, here we go. Okay, Biden says he just talked to French President Mitterrand. He died in 1994. In a perfect world, Joe's press secretary would be Rod Serling. Do y'all know who that is? He wrote The Twilight Zone? Okay, and finally, yes, whoever said that one person cannot change the world never undercooked a bat. COVID? Hello? Wow. And that's the news.
Thank you, Kathy. Great as always. All right, so we got quite a few announcements. We're going to try and push quickly through those. First up, immediate past President Sean Snell, Executive Texas Health Resources, Executive Health. Okay, all right, go.
Thank you, President Kirk.
You bet. Come on up.
Matt Sylvia, come on up. I think you walked in here a few minutes ago. I am here to announce that next Friday is our traditional 4-way speech contest here in the club. So, of course, from the earliest days of Rotary, Rotarians have been concerned with promoting high ethical standards, both professionally and, of course, personally. And this gives us the opportunity to foster this set of core values and ethics in the next generation. And also, hopefully, we are cultivating future Rotarians. So we need 3 judges and 1 timekeeper next week. And I don't know if I dare ask for hands. Are there hands? Tran? Well, please consider we need 3 judges, 1 timekeeper. It's a simple job. Let Aurora know, or myself. And in the meantime, whoever signs up, you will get an email with some simple instructions early next week, and then you simply arrive by 11:30 next Friday for some pre-training before the event. And also to let you know that in April, the winner, there will be 6 students this year from YWLA who are competing. And the winner will progress to the regional. The regions throughout our district occur in the first 3 Saturdays in April. And I don't know if this is the first time they've had the finale. The grand winner will be announced at our district conference, April 27th in Denton. And every Rotarian is welcomed and encouraged to attend our district conference. And Matt, come give us an update on the Interact Club and the students.
Yes, so Interact Club's going along very well. They're independently functioning, as I would say, in year 2. They're already looking to get their officer slate set up for next year. We had a very successful donation of material goods a couple weeks ago, and that was a really good community action item for them to achieve. They're already talking about trying to get one more community item before year end. So a lot of good ideas that were getting kicked around 2 days ago as they see their school year end of May. So they're trying to get something in for late April, ideally here. So the group is doing great. They're doing some really amazing things in year 2. They're already doing plans for next year, and they're also trying to get their RILA applications in, which we appreciate the support of the board for that as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. No what? No Chris. I was looking for him. All right, Chris Jordan is not here. So next up, Akua Ayanfo, CEO, founder, EA Wealth Management. I know she's here. Come on up here. You have an announcement for us. And Rachel Marker, you were on deck. All right. Madam.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So a few years back, the International Committee worked with the Refugee Services, and we were able to furnish an apartment for a family coming from, I believe, is East Africa. This year, we want the opportunity to also do something similar. However, their greatest needs are hygiene kits and food kits. So if you look in your rotograph, please, there's a link in there. We would love for you to donate. You don't need to purchase the items. Just donate the amount to fund it. And we would love for you to actually buy as many as you can, and we will give an MVP award on March 22nd. So whoever buys the most gets the MVP award. Yes. It was sent out by email. It's in the rotograph. Yes. Yes. In addition to that, they have one pressing need. So their biggest and greatest need, and we're working with Catholic Charities and World Relief, their greatest needs are dental care, cataract surgery, optical services. So thinking about the fact that we have quite an array of people in here, if you have any resources or you know anyone that can help provide that, I would appreciate if you could reach out to me. And my contact information is in the rotograph as well. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, Rachel Marker, past president and strategic account executive, healthcare, Miller Knoll. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you, President Kirk. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians, and a special hello to my fellow Iowans who are going to be today's speakers. Go Hawkeyes. On behalf of the Rotary International Foundation Committee, I'm here to remind you about the Rotary International campaign. In an effort to drive more support from our club towards our polio initiatives and to help more of our members become Paul Harris Fellows, the club has agreed to matching funds. So what does this mean? For anyone who donates at least $250 and up to $500 through March 31st, the club will match those funds. It takes $1,000 in giving to become a Paul Harris Fellow. So even if you haven't participated yet, you could donate $500 today and receive the matching funds and become a Paul Harris Fellow, which I promptly forgot my pen by mistake. If you would like to know where your current contribution status is, please see Ryan D. after the meeting, as he has the most current reporting. If you have never donated to Rotary International, or if you have donated in the past, but you are not a Paul Harris Fellow, this is a great opportunity to make a difference to the important work that Rotary International does. President Kirk reminds us every week of the impact we have made in the fight against polio. And Rotary International is also doing work in many other important areas, like providing clean water, disaster relief, and fighting diseases around the world. So you ask yourself, how do I donate? It's super easy. All right, the first thing that you need to do is to understand that from February 12th through March 31st, donate anywhere from $250 to $500 to qualify. Next up, you just need to go to the login at www.myrotary.org, click on the donation button on the top right-hand part of the screen. Next, steps to donate. Just make sure that you're donating to the annual fund. When your donation is complete, email it to Ryan, and tell him that you have donated so much amount, and he will make sure that that matching fund gets connected to the club. So things to keep in mind, we're asking for an and, not instead or in place of our local foundation giving. And in 3 years, approximately 46% of the money comes back locally to the district for our use. Thank you so much.
All right, I got next up Connie Blake, President of Generational Designs, Frank Shields, VP Frost Bank. Come on up, give us an announcement. No? Wait, no? What? You need a minute. Okay. Well, in the meanwhile, Kathy. Oh, okay.
All day. Well, fellow Rotarians, are you ready to have some fun together? All right. We have an exciting Rotary After Hours event planned for you. Next Friday, March 1st, is First Friday at Preservation Hall. Buddy's Big Band, who plays Glenn Miller, 40s era music. It's actually their 25th anniversary playing at Preservation Hall, so it'll probably be a great turnout. We would love to have you join us.
We hope you will be in the mood. So it's $15 at the door, BYOB. Bring your snacks, bring your booze. It'll be an evening you won't want to lose.
Yeah, QR code right here. All this is the RSVP so that I will get there early and save us a table. And I know, Frank, you and Marie.
Yeah, we've already got 9 people coming.
Got it. So be sure and RSVP. Mm-hmm. We'll probably need 2 or 3 tables. Anyway, if you can sit there and listen to the music and bounce in your seat, or even if you don't know how to dance, Frank and I can teach you a few steps. Be sure and bring leather-bottomed shoes. Rubber shoes don't really work that well. So scan the QR code and join us next Friday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. I didn't realize there was a dance number coming with this, but I will say Buddy's Big Band is awesome, and if we're free, we're going. All right, next up, Kathy Sheffield, Vice President and Chief Advancement Officer, Vice President here, Chief Advancement Officer, Lena Popham.
Thank you, President Kirk. We have one first reading today. The proposed member is Jim Boaz. He's a financial advisor, LPL Financial. His classification is Municipal Government Libraries. His proposer is Mike Herman. Jim is a transfer from the Edmond Summit Rotary Club in Edmond, Oklahoma, and a past president of the North Oklahoma City Rotary Club. That's a great member to have. If no written objections are received in the Rotary office by March 1st, this proposal will be given a second reading and voted on by the club. Today we have 2 second readings. The proposed members are Midori Clark. The title is Director of Fort Worth Public Libraries, Company City of Fort Worth, classification Municipal Government Libraries. Proposer Lauren Prier. I move their election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
I have a motion. Do we have a second? Second over here. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? The ayes have it. She is, wait, what? The ayes have it, and she is hereby elected. Welcome.
The second proposed new member is Michael Martinez, managing shareholder, Martinez Shoe PC, classification law firm, business, proposer Tammy Terra. I move his election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Second over here. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry it. Hereby elected. Welcome. All right. Next up, we have a new member introduction. Wendy Shaw, please come on up. Wendy is CEO, Longhorn Council, Boy Scouts of America. Bring your new member.
Yeah. Great. Good afternoon, everybody. It is my pleasure to introduce a new member, Russ Lugo. He joined the Longhorn Council Boy Scouts of America team last year and has quickly jumped on and become a very engaging member of the team. And as I was talking to him about how he could connect, he was very excited about Rotary being an opportunity for him. And one of the things I want to say about Russ is that he has such a servant's heart that I know that Rotary is going to be a great match for him. He's been in development his entire career. A couple of decades worth of supporting religious organizations with their philanthropy and fundraising, and he has joined the Longhorn team to do the same. So without further ado, Russ.
Good afternoon. I'm so privileged to be here today. Thank you. I'm so grateful to be a part of the Longhorn Council. I've had some amazing roles, but this is the most exciting. This is the premier youth movement in the world. We have over 1 million members worldwide, and here in North Texas, serving 23 counties, in addition to over 10,000 young members and over 6,000 adult volunteers. So excited to be a part of it, training up young men, young women with great character to be the leaders of tomorrow. There's nothing greater than that purpose. A very brief and interesting fact about myself is I've traveled to 6 continents, just about 30 countries. My travels have afforded me amazing experiences like being able to meet Mother Teresa and volunteer in her homes, all the way to venture into the Great Pyramid in Egypt. Those experiences have shaped my life. I have one more continent to check off on the list. I'm working on that too actively. But my excitement today is to be a part of this organization, to be a part of the Rotary. I'm looking forward to serving with you, meeting each one of you, and linking arms to bless our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. All right, next up, Ryan Barrera. Bring your new member. Ryan Barrera is Chief Advancement Officer for Campfire, First Texas. Y'all aren't going to, like, feud or nothing, right?
No,
Boy
we're
Scouts,
good.
Campfire?
We're good, we're good. Good afternoon. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce Brian Miller to this Rotary Club. I started with Campfire about a year ago, and shortly right after I started, I had a new boss, so that was a surprise. And with it, we had an interim president and CEO for the organization, and that's the shoes that Brian stepped into. You know, and for a good period, Brian served valiantly and ultimately was appointed our permanent president and CEO this past November. He's wonderful to work with, great collaborator, positive mindset in all he brings forward. So I know he's going to bring a lot of good to the club. And if you don't know Brian, he's certainly no stranger to the community and to Campfire. He has more than 30 years of experience with us in volunteer and professional capacity. So with it, I'm honored to introduce Brian Miller.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's see, personally, I'm married to Allison Miller, who is a physical therapist here in Fort Worth. She may have tortured some of you back to health. My daughter is a recent graduate of the University of Arkansas, so if there's any pig suey in the room. And I'm a TCU grad who is I know we need a noise, right? And I'm a recovering endurance athlete with 18 Ironmans to my credit, so recovering. I eat more and train less now. Professionally, my background is mental health. I've been with Campfire for 6 years, but I have a relationship with Campfire that goes back 30 years as a therapist for their grief camp. I like to tease fellow Rotarian and my predecessor, Ann Sheets, that it only took me 24 years to convince her to hire me. But I'm really glad she did. And I'm so proud of the work that Camp Fire is doing in our community. I hope you have an opportunity to get to know us, and I'm excited to be a part of such a service-driven organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard to both our new members, and you know the drill. Let's get these red badges turned to blue as soon as we can, all right? Okay, main event. Finally, we're here. Got through all the announcements and stuff. Chairman of the day, Mitch Reitman, Principal, Reitman Consulting Group. Come on up and introduce our guest speakers, sir.
Thank you. I'm really happy about today's program. As many of you know, I own a small airplane, and it's a nice hobby, but it's also nice to follow my Longhorns. I can get to Lubbock in an hour and a half. I can get to Stillwater in an hour and a half, and now I can get to College Station in an hour, and have some fun. But because it's a 50-year-old plane, we keep in touch with each other, and we follow each other in social networking. You know, where can I get this part? What's falling off your plane? What's that funny noise? And I read about these two guys that they're going to fly their plane, which is just a little bit larger than mine. It's a 6-seater instead of a 4-seater around the world, which I have a hard time getting to Kansas City, much less going around the world. And I got what was really interesting about my age, and then I read that they're Rotarians. And then what really made me interested about it is they did it to raise money for polio. And they initially wanted to raise $10,000. They're going to tell you during their presentation they raised a lot more than that. And it was fun last summer following them every day on the internet, seeing where they were and what they're doing. So I'd like to introduce Peter Tehan and John Oakenfels for Flight to End Polio. Really great program. Thank you. Thank you.
As Peter's getting set up here, I'm John. This is Peter, obviously. And how old is your airplane? 50. 49. You fly a 49-year-old airplane around the world. Okay, well, we just did. Ours is only 47 years old. And I own two owned one. I still own another one that's 80 years old. So age doesn't matter.
Well, it's great to be here. Yeah, it's great to be here with you today. Thank you for the invite, Mitch. You invited us, you tracked us down, and Aurora's been great to work with. And we're here to tell you a story of our dream that came true that really we worked hard to. And it started off as I was going to do this flight as a solo and fly around the world. Originally, we were going to go Singapore, Malaysia, up to the Philippines, Japan, Russia, and on over to Alaska. That plan was for 3 years.
It's a great plan.
It's a great plan. 2 years I got canceled. We got canceled because of COVID, and then when Russia invaded Ukraine, we lost that route. But my wife was a perfect wife. You guys can be perfect wives and husbands all the time. I came back in 2019. I said, honey, I don't know if it can be done, but I like to fly our airplane around the world. And she said, sure, honey, go right ahead. You know, I said, well, it's going to take a lot of planning and things. It wasn't until a year later when I came back and told her, honey, I can do it. I've got it all planned out. I know about, and I want to do it next year. And she looked at me and says, you're serious. And then it dawned on me she was a perfect parent or a perfect mom like the rest of us. She didn't want to swat down my dreams. She was going to say, go ahead, plan it. Because she knew after a year I'd probably lose interest, change my mind, or find out I'm so totally insane and can't do it. But she didn't shoot me down after she said, seriously. She says, well, she put another obstacle up there and said, you can't go by yourself. You got to find somebody as crazy as you to do this trip because it's so dangerous. John's my cousin by marriage, by the way. Did I mention that? And immediately I knew he had 3 airplanes. He qualified to being crazy. I called him up on the phone and said, John, I want to come talk to you. And that's really the longest conversation because
It was actually kind of interesting because I learned a lot more about him than I ever knew before in the first couple hours of that. But then we started talking about this airplane trip around the world, and I got to tell you, I was interested.
Yeah.
We talked for another hour about the trip. We get all said and done. We're talking about all the planning, where he's going to go, what he's going to do. And he very quietly kind of looks across the desk, and we're sitting in front of my desk, and says, you could join me if you want to. Now, how many people would automatically jump up and down and yell and scream and say, I want to go? I didn't either. So the long and the short of it really did take me a couple weeks. I kind of told him, I'll get back to you, to get back to him and say, I'm ready to do this, because I'll ask every one of you, who was the first superpower I had to go talk to about this? You're right, it was my wife.
See how the pattern of wives come in all the time there, but we're just going to be two old guys, ladies,
Now,
excuse
wait
the
a
expression,
minute.
we now say two old farts, we're going to fly around.
No, it's official. They printed this in India. Two septuagenarians.
We're going to go. I turned 70, he turned 71 on the trip, and that was in India's headline papers we found out we were septuagenarians. I can't even pronounce it. But anyway, we were just going to fly around the world, and we said, well, we're humanitarians, we're Rotarians, we need to do something for humanity. So we decided to raise money to Rotary to eradicate polio. And it was, we said, okay, now we got that challenge, how are we going to raise any money? And so we decided, well, if we're really good, we can raise maybe $10,000. And then we knew Gates would match it 2 to 1, that'd make it $30,000. So we're off on this worldwide mission starting 4 years ago. As I said, got canceled 3 times with a wild goal of hoping to make 10,000. We'll tell you more about that story in a little bit. But the story really began back in 1950 and the 60s when a lot of us in this room probably stood in lines like that. And we've got our either shots, John got the shots, I got the sugar cube, but our parents were so joyful because they were able to avoid, the crippling effect on us and putting us, by God, into those iron lungs, which there are 3 people in the world, I think it is right now, still on iron lungs, which is hard to believe. But this is today in the front lines of the fight. One of our number one focus and the number one spot that we were going to go to in the world was Karachi, Pakistan. That's where the front line of the fight is right now. People told us you can't do it, it's dangerous, you shouldn't go there. We decided to go anywhere. And so for me, that picture on the top left is very special because that's the first child in my life that I ever vaccinated with the drops from Rotary. And I tell you, it brought tears to my eyes as you put in the middle of this horrific ghetto with refugees from Afghanistan who are trying to start a new life, where I actually stood there and tears in my eyes as I put drops in that child, knowing that that child would be one of those children in a desperate situation would not have polio. But a very more significant in many ways is the center picture. John, tell them why that's so important, John.
Yep. The center picture, actually, if you'll take a look there, you obviously see the lady in the red scarf. She's one of the vaccinators whose full-time job is to actually go around and do this with the kids. And that was part of this, what we were doing there. We got a full, long briefing from Rotary International, UNICEF, and World Health Organization. They are a phenomenal team. And they are the people that train these ladies to go do this. And these are the ladies that go out into the slums every day and do the vaccinations and track everything. The record keeping is outstanding. Well, we had the opportunity to spend some time with them. Well, the other thing you see there, obviously I'm giving this child the drops, but that's her father holding the baby. And all we've heard for many, many years is that in Pakistan and Afghanistan and many other countries, the fathers don't get involved in taking care of the kids. And in fact, the fathers were the ones who were stopping the vaccinations for many years. We just want to break that stereotype and tell you that the fathers across the board, not all of them, but across the board, places we went, are involved in their child's lives. They are involved, and they were willingly and excitedly bringing those kids outside to be vaccinated. We never went inside a house, by the way. All of this was done in the streets. And when we tell you that we talk about the slums and all that in Karachi, Pakistan, I'm going to tell you it's a garbage pit on top of a garbage pit inside of another garbage pit, and I'm not exaggerating. But that's where we did the vaccinations. That's where the people live. That's their life. That's the help they need. So get a chance, take a deep look.
A lot of people told us, and I'm going to jump over the next video as we go up here. I'm going to, for time's sake, I'm going to pass through that.
I got excited when I saw this, and
we're going to miss that one.
Can you push that forward? There we go. Everybody, we heard all the time that people thought we were crazy. We couldn't do this flight. It shouldn't be done. And after a while, we kind of believed it wasn't going to be done because of all the obstacles. I would talk to several of you, the gentleman who's doctor back there who was the logistics. This is a logistic-intense flight. 40% of our fuel had to be shipped in 55-gallon drums into a location, unloaded off ships, taken to the airport where we had to hand pump fuel into the airplane. Because airports we were flying didn't handle the fuel we needed.
You know, we found a really serious thing, and it comes into play. Going around the world, and your cards are on the table, by the way. The back of the card has got the route on it. The front of the card is the picture. But that's our actual route. And we had to land at international airports every time we landed. Well, our airplane is a gasoline-powered piston airplane, right? They don't have those flying around the rest of the world when you get outside of Europe and the United States. They only have turbines and jets, and especially at international airports, they only have jets. So we had to have the fuel shipped in. Fortunately, Peter got to the airplane in Rome, otherwise they would have put jet fuel in the engine. That would have been bad. Yeah. So.
But why is this such a rare event? How many here have flown around the world, either on commercial flights or other things? You know, you think it's not that, it's, you know, people go around the world. The statistics show us here that, there we go, that 4,000 folks have climbed Mount Everest. Over 500 people have been in outer space. But in the history of aviation, only 700, got to change it. Now 702 pilots in the history of aviation have flown around the world.
And that's documented.
And of those 702, there's only 268 of us alive in the world today. And we're glad to be able to be in Texas to say that it is officially recognized, and it, as of a few days ago, is now in the history books of aviation. We had to submit all the documentation, had to go through review boards. We just got official notification that they are documenting that we are one of those few people, and we're waiting for our certificate to be sent to us from the International Aeronautic Federation out of France. But we are there. And give you a sense of the airplane, as you see in the front of the handout, it is a small plane. Most of you probably wouldn't even go near getting inside that airplane. There's a little 6-passenger single engine, but it went, the highest we flew was around 11,000, average flight, and we got up to 13,000. But John, what's the next picture there?
That picture that you're looking at is actually me landing the airplane in Sepa, Netherlands. And by the time we got to SEPA, by the way, we were 2 weeks late because of weather and maintenance and a few other things. But that was it. And so landing in SEPA. The next picture that's up right now is the cockpit of the airplane. Now, this is a 1977 airplane. Obviously, we didn't have GPS and all this electronic equipment in 77. We call this the office. And so that is what got us around the world, honest to gosh. The capability of that panel, if as a pilot, this would come into play, but we couldn't have made that without the modern equipment, to be honest with you, with the routes and the things we had to do. The other thing we did, and that's going to come to play, that airplane was 1,000 pounds overweight when we took off. It's certified for 4,000 pounds, and we flew it just short of 5,000 pounds total gross weight. And we had the permits and the extra capability, extended wingtips. It holds 90 gallons of gas. We were tanking 280 gallons of gas when we took off. So, yeah, special. Let's keep going down to.
I'm going to show you a quick video that was. I told my wife I was going to plan it, and she said, "You're not doing it by yourself. You better find somebody else as crazy as you to go on this flight." 39 stops around the world in 21 different countries.
We did all of our planning, and we found out on the first day we could take all that planning and throw it out the window.
One of the most powerful moments of this trip was when we were working in the ghettos of Karachi, Pakistan. Knowing that you've given that child a chance to be polio-free the rest of their life, it brought me to tears.
He actually had a car follow us down the runway.
The number one goal of this trip is to get home to our families alive. if the plane decides not to cooperate, then we'll put it in the water, hopefully next to a freighter that's going by, and we'll start again on another adventure. Next slide. That comment that I made there was the biggest bogus, I think, of the whole flight. When they go to survival training and you read about survival, what they teach you, if you have the survivability rate of putting a plane down in the ocean in favorable conditions in daytime is 12%. Putting it down any other kind is a whole lot less than that. But what they do teach, if you want to be one of those lucky 12%, then you find a freighter out there, you land 5 miles ahead of the freighter, because it takes a freighter 5 miles to slow down. So you don't want to land next to them and saying, and that was so comforting to know that that's a plan.
Yeah.
What? John, how many ships did we see out there in the ocean?
No, we actually did, seriously, make a, we decided to keep track along the route. Once we were 50 miles offshore, we saw exactly 0 ships. Because for this thing to be true, you have to be flying across the shipping lanes, which would be like flying across the interstates. Doesn't happen out in the open ocean in the Southern Pacific. There's nothing there.
So you've got the maps to look at, but here's statistics. 30,000 miles, 180 hours, 37 stops in 19 countries. And the key thing up there is we did it 90 days from May 5th to July 30th, and the 24 fundraisers. That's key because, you know, our wives are in the wisdom came through and saved us on this one. We had wanted to raise that $10,000, right? That was our goal. But we didn't know how we were going to do it, so we had reached the Rotary clubs all over the world and say, hey, will you host us? Can we do fundraisers? Yada, yada, yada. 9 weeks before we departed on the flight, we had a grand total of, at least 2 is higher than none, the ships. We had 2 clubs around the world say they're going to do fundraisers for us. We were disappointed, and so we went out to dinner with our wives. John and I talked in the daytime, went out to our wives that night and said how disappointed. And they said, look, guys, what's your number one goal? To come home alive to us. They said, give up on the fundraising. If you give them $50, that's more than Rotary ever had. Focus on coming home alive to us and give it to God. And if God wants you to be successful in fundraising, he will. So John and I made a commitment that night. God, it's yours. If you want us to raise money, it's yours. We're coming home to our wives. And so by the time we left 2 weeks before, we had 24 fundraisers on the books. After we gave up trying to commit these things, we ended up with 24 on the books. But remember that $10,000?
That's typically Rotarians. Any district governors or past presidents will understand. Rotarians typically wait to the last minute to always say yes. Is that basically true?
But we didn't quite do the 10,000. We didn't make the 10,000. Well, we made the 10,000. We quite didn't make the 10,000. We are currently at $2 million.
And every dime of that $2 million goes to the Rotary Foundation. In fact, when we tell you to write the check, we tell you to write the check using those 3 words on the pay line, the Rotary Foundation. It's not to the Flight to End Polio. It's not to John and Peter.
It is. And actually, it starts from all the donations of Rotarians starts from the club, the member to the club, the district, the zone, back into the Rotary. So you talk Paul Harris Foundation, here's a great way. And
we just heard it a minute ago.
Yeah, you did a great introduction for us. And people say, well, you're going to take money out of the club and we'll have a hard time to reach a goal. No, we're kind of the instrument to motivate you, to inspire you, hopefully to give. Because where else do you have a fundraising program where 100% goes? It's over right now, over $100 and some thousand we're paying out.
I'm going to go off script here for just a second, but I just heard this thing about donate $250 and we're going to match it from the club. Well, if you donate $250 to the Flight to End Polio through the Rotary Foundation, that $250 is going to become your $500, which is now going to be matched 2 to 1. For the Gates Foundation, that's going to become $1,000. And if you started at the $500 level, your $500 is going to become $2,000 going to Rotary, or going to polio eradication. Now, he's trying to tell me to hurry the hell up, so I am.
We got to get you out of here in 10 minutes. And
yeah.
We've got so much more to tell you.
You're only getting the tip of the iceberg.
Well, and we saw a lot of icebergs going over Greenland, didn't we?
We did.
That's the survival suits we had to wear to survive those suits. But we're not going to spend a lot of time here. But this is one of our first big emergencies. We were flying over to New Caledonia, 7-hour flight out over the ocean. We left Brisbane. We got about 2 hours out and saw all of our instrument panel with all those computers. What's the last thing you would want to have happen? Electrical failure. And 2 hours outside Brisbane, we started experiencing electrical failure. We had to turn around and get back to Brisbane before we had total communication and navigation failure, because otherwise we'd be out in the middle of the ocean without any navigation things.
The engine would be running, we just wouldn't know where we were going.
Yeah, well, I think that was the way most of the time.
Yeah, that was true.
We're going to jump over this video. If you get time, so you want to see these videos, a great time, go to our website or Facebook page, Flight to End Polio, and we've got some pretty good videos.
Great video.
Pago Pago, America Samoa, up to Hawaii was our longest jump, 17 hours. Now put those two, the seats you're in, snuggle up to the person next to you, and that's how much room we had in the cockpit. Our hips touch, our elbows touch, 17 hours in that flight and could not move. We couldn't get up, couldn't move room. There was nothing in the back because we had a 165-gallon fuel bladder stuck right behind our seat. That's like driving around Fort Worth, and I've seen the drivers around here. That's like driving around Fort Worth with 3 55-gallon drums in the back seat of your car.
Exactly what it was.
It was a known smoking flight, believe me. But if you look at this chart, if you can see it, you see way down at the bottom of Pago Pago, that was 4:30 in the morning when we departed. They weren't even open. We took off and got a control tower like 30 miles away and said, hey, we took off. Grand total communication with him was 30 seconds. And if you look at the dotted line on that chart, that meant for the next 17 hours, we were not in communication with anyone in the world, and there were no freighters out there. We are boosting position reports every 15 minutes by satellite.
I see, we had satellite phone.
Only 40% of the messages got through the satellite because there was not heavy communication. There's no channels out there.
There was no voice, it was only text.
We got 60 miles outside Honolulu at 11 o'clock at night before we had communication. But we did have one major communication along the route. If you look at the picture on the cards here, I have dark hair. I now have gray hair, and that happened about 6 hours outside Honolulu in a very short time. What happened?
Well, he just told you we had a 165-gallon bag of gasoline behind the seat, right? With 120 gallons in the wing, 280 gallons of gas. What could go wrong? Well, about 6 hours out, we're totaling up with the fuel, and I totaled up the fuel, and everything kept coming up saying we're going to be an hour short on gas. Now, we knew we had 3 hours or so of gas to spare when we left. And come to find out that in the midst of everything else, it was not really well organized. No, it was hectic as hell sometimes. But in reality, we tracked all the gas we downloaded from that bag, and one of those downloads got recorded twice. So we showed that we downloaded 34 gallons twice instead of only once. And that 34 gallons was the difference in whether or not we were going to be an hour short or have an hour and a half or 2 hours to spare when we landed. We had 2 hours to spare when we landed.
We got back in the U.S., flew into California, over to Denver. We got to Denver, snuck into a town about 60 miles away from us. So we only had like a 40-minute jump for a big welcome home ceremony. The morning we got out to fly the last leg home, I said, John, there's oil underneath this plane. He says, well, it can't be us. We haven't been here that long. We looked again. We carried 10 quarts of oil on that aircraft in the engine. We burned a quart every 6 hours. In the 3-hour flight from Denver to Ankeny, Iowa, we lost 3.5 quarts. We had broken a major gasket lease. We were dumping oil out the back. If that was 4 days earlier, we would have gone down in the Pacific with engine lock. We got the plane back to Cedar Rapids because it wasn't all done and it wasn't really performing right. And we found out now that the engine, we didn't come down in our plane because the plane needed a new engine. Out of 6 cylinders, only 4 of them were working proficiently and the other 2. So we were in danger.
The airplane was not going to fall out of the sky. But when you go into the annual inspection and you start doing the inspections, you'll say, well, that's only a little bit. You fix it. And we had.
Let's jump there.
Yeah, jump that one.
Anybody know what this date is? October 27th, 1977? That's the last day that a child was infected by polio in the world. 3 years later, smallpox. 3 years later, smallpox was announced eradicated for mankind. Our question is, when is those children in those pictures, who's going to be the last child? How close are we? When will the last child be the last child to ever have polio? And that's in your hands, each and every one of our hands. And that's why the foundation's raising money. That's why we had the End Polio Now program. It is truly, we are so close.
Okay, before we do this one, real quickly.
But this is the hope one, yeah.
Yeah, before we get there, right now in the world, I get updates all the time. Last year, we had a grand total of 12 cases of polio in the world in Pakistan and Afghanistan. What most people don't know is that the year previous to that, we went 6 months with no polio anywhere in the world. January 1st or 2nd, we got our first recorded case in 2023. So far, going into this date in 2024, we've gone 4 months with no polio anywhere in the world. Those are important numbers.
But I want to see a show of hands here. We read about it all. We're both Rotarians. You've heard about polio. How many here have hope that we're going to see the end of polio? Raise your hands. John, they've not heard our speech before. Why? Yes.
Well, when we were in Karachi, Pakistan, we got a phenomenal briefing, as I started to mention earlier, from the team of World Health Organization, Rotary, and UNICEF. Thank you. So long story short there was we got this couple hours of briefing and all that. There was reporters there on TV. They got done. They moved us around the end of the table, said, we're going to have a press conference. Of course, we're going, nobody said that. And started off, the first question came from the lead guy on the reporters team at the end. He looks across the table and he says, now, Captain Tehan, by the way, we're captains because we're pilots in that part of the world. So, Captain Tehan, now that you've seen what's going on and you've heard it, do you still have hope that you're going to see the end of polio in your lifetime?
I wasn't ready for that question. I wasn't ready for a press conference. And I'm thinking, how in the world am I going to ask this? We're working in the ghettos. We're seeing the horrors. We've seen what they're doing to fight it. And I paused. I actually asked them to repeat it again because as I've been public national spokesperson for the Red Cross for 20-some years. And I know if you want to stall, you ask a question again. And I said, what again? And he said it again. And remember our fundraiser we had with us, the big guy upstairs? He was in that room that day. And I said, I have to be honest with you. John and I have been flying around the world trying to educate people and try to raise money. We've vaccinated babies in this ghetto. We've seen where these people are living and the struggle they are, and we've listened to what Rotary, UNICEF, and World Health is doing to eradicate polio. I said, I have to be honest with you. I no longer have hope that we're going to see the end of polio. Every Rotarian fell off their chair saying, my God, we're supporting these people. And they just said to the media, they no longer have hope. And the media got real frenzy and they started writing and getting their cameras going, my God, this is breaking news. And I paused again and I said, I don't have hope. I believe. I believe not that we can, I believe we will, and I believe we are seeing the end of the world. And I told everyone in that room that day, I said, I want you to go out and tell all your listeners and everybody you know in the world that Rotary no longer has hope. That's for birthdays and celebrations, we're hoping and wishing. Those children in those ghettos and the children around the world need to know that we are committed and we truly believe that each and every one of you have made a difference in the world, and one day that final date for that final child who have been infected will be because of the work we're continuing to do as Rotary. The people on the front lines are exhausted. We saw a video of a race one time, and the first place runner was out, and it was a long race, and he collapsed before the finish line. And then you go look at who's the second and third place and which one of them are going to win. And what we saw in this video, sports video, it was those second and third place runners stopped and they picked up the person who had fallen. And the three of them went across the finish line. Those ladies John talked about being in the ghettos and those people working in the ghettos and things, how many times have we heard there is no such thing? Polio's gone on the rest of the world. They don't see it being gone. We need to be the second and third place runners, to pick up the people on the front lines and start telling the world we believe, and not that we just hope, we wish, we believe. And all of us get across the line, taking the children across that finish line and get rid of this polio. Somebody recently said us a definition, a Latin meaning of what believe means. And in Latin words, believe means being so committed to something that you're willing to risk your life for that cause. That's what John and I just got done doing. That's what the people on the front lines are doing. They're willing to risk their lives to bring an end to polio. We can't do it without you. Please answer correctly. How many people believe we can see the end of polio? Thank you very much.
That really does bring us to an end, but I'd just like to let you know, go to the website, flighttoendpolio.com. A lot more information there you'll like. Thank you for your time in inviting us.
What a great program. Well, thank you. Holy smokes, that's my favorite program so far this year, maybe of all time. So, what do I say? I mean, so every week up here, and everyone in this room can vouch, we give a speaker gift to the speakers, and I make a big spiel about, hey, Rotary is fighting the fight against polio, and here's where we've been, and here's what we've done, and we're this close. Well, you kind of took that from me this time. But we do have a speaker gift for you. Wow. You'll never guess what it is. We have made a donation in your names to the Rotary Polio Plus Foundation.
Thank you.
So, thank you again for coming up here. What a wonderful speech, gentlemen. And I urge each and every one of you in here, go to rotary.org, right? Right. And, wow, I should know that. Go to rotary.org, get on there, find the End Polio Now spot, click on that, make a donation, because every dollar counts. And again, they get matched, so it's more money to that fight, and we are truly this close. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Get out of here.
Y'all want these? Yep. All right, here you go.
Thank you.
All right, got some closing announcements for you. Number one, we have Board of Directors meeting in the Rotary office. Where's my board? I sent this to you last night. Go down these elevators. Don't go to the ones in the garage. You end up in the parking garage. But third floor, suite 305. Next week, March 1st. Wow, it's already March 1st. We have the four-way test competition. So look forward to seeing you guys and gals here then. Until then, have a great week. This meeting is adjourned.